Hello everyone and welcome to the Scots Scheme with Macalester College head football coach Tony Jennison. The Scots Scheme is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask Coach Jennison questions about the Scots, football or sports in general, or just seek the wisdom of Coach Jennison. Just as a note before we get into this week's program, Coach Jennison was having doubts about the validity of fans wanting to write and seek his wisdom, so I'm encouraging you to really reach out to him this week and send him tons of emails asking him questions so we can record those for next week's show. The email address to send your questions to is TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. This week is an interesting program for you as the coach talks about last week's difficult loss to Carleton College and what he expects against Hamline University this week. So let's get right to the Scots Scheme. Okay, so we want to welcome back Coach Jennison this week. Coach, last week we began by talking about the big question that was on everybody's mind, number one question about number one. So this week, the number two question about number two is, how is Zandy doing?
Zandy's doing okay. He just, his hamstring tightened up on him in the game. I think the heat probably had something to do with that, maybe dehydration a little bit. And so we thought it was best to just sit him down, or actually our training staff felt that was the case. So he didn't pull the hamstring. We were just being a little bit cautious with it. But he's had limited reps this week, and we're hopeful that he'll be ready to go come Saturday, because he is a great player for us, and we certainly need him out there.
Before we get into talk about last week's game, there were a couple of coaches I think we forgot about last week that you had new on the staff. We wanted to mention that.
Yes, I apologize. Really, the one coach I think we forgot about is Coach Rosenberry, who's our special teams coordinator, and I just think he's outstanding. I think he's an exceptional coach. I think he is hard on our guys, and I think that some of the guys have struggled with that a little bit at times because he demands a lot out of them. But he's doing a tremendous job. He's a tremendous recruiter, and he's a really good position coach with the running backs. And you saw what our special teams did last week. We forced a fumble on the kickoff. We blocked an extra point. We blocked a punt for a touchdown. And our kick returns looked really good. We just didn't. We missed a couple blocks here and there. Otherwise, we looked pretty good on kick return as well. So he's done really good work, and we hired him. There were 150 applicants for that position, and he was by far and away our number one choice, and he was the number one choice of the coaches, the players, the administration, the department, everybody. So I just feel very grateful that he's with us, because he's really helping our football program move forward in a lot of ways, not just on Saturdays, but a lot of ways.
Before last week's game, you gave a pregame talk that was really specific about playing Carleton, and I just want to ask, is this a talk that you have designed before you come there, or is this kind of just improv as you're standing before the team?
I think it depends on the day. To be honest with you, I didn't really know what I was going to say in the last pregame talk, and I just kind of winged it. I just kind of spoke from the heart a little bit. And sometimes I have more of a plan going in, sometimes I don't. It really just depends upon the week and what moves me, I guess, what strikes me. It obviously didn't work last week, so might need to make some changes to that.
The interesting thing I found out about it is you're such a kind of a mild-mannered guy, but I really got a good look at you about what you would have been like as a defensive back against some poor wide receiver a few years back. So
I don't know about that. I was, my dad would say, a ham and egger when it comes to defensive back play, so probably not, Rob. But thank you.
You expressed your concerns to me before last week's game that you didn't really know where to evaluate your team at that point because you're just going through practices. And so this was going to kind of be a test to give you a feel of where you're at. What did you take away from that game?
Well, I took away that we've got a team that is going to play hard and play physical. They care. And that is, to me, the most important thing. I was actually pleased watching the video afterwards of how hard we played and how physical we played. And certainly there's room for improvement with certain guys or certain position groups or whatnot. But overall, the effort was there. Our guys care. We just didn't execute very well, and so we're trying to figure out ways that we can do that a little bit better. Try to practice a little bit faster. Try to get more reps in. Different things like that. And maybe we need to condition a little bit more because with the heat, we kind of missed some assignments once it got real hot. So not sure, but I know as coaches that we are really thinking about what we can do to execute better. Again, the good news is that the effort, the attitude was there. The young men in our program, they care. We just need to get them all on the same page now and get them all moving forward so that we do execute better as a team.
Other than the effort, were there some other things you took away from that game that you want to either improve on or really just focus more on?
We need to get on the same page as a team. Offensively, it's like sometimes, we certain guys who do the right things and others wouldn't, and it's one guy who missed a block that it could have been a 5 to 10 yard run or even maybe better had that one block gets done. Or defensively, how missed assignments, losing contain really hurt us, or someone who's supposed to be covering a certain guy who reads the wrong thing, and all of a sudden that guy's wide open and it costs us a first down or whatnot. Or even penalties. Penalties really hurt us in that game. There was one big penalty on a 3rd and 2. We actually ran the football. We misaligned, so we had too many men in the backfield. But we ran the ball on 3rd and 2 and got a first down. It would have been basically 1st and goal and inside the 10-yard line. And all of a sudden, unfortunately, it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, and I think that's when we attempted a field goal and missed it. But so it's just little things like that really hurt us. Again, the great part is that the effort's there. The young men in our program, they care, they want to do better. We need to correct some things.
Last week you wound up using 3 quarterbacks, and there were some commentators who would say something like, using more than one quarterback kind of ruins the consistency of the team, the rhythm of the way the offense is going. Do you see things from that way?
Actually, no, I don't, because I'm a former defensive coordinator, and the way I see it is that if you're playing multiple quarterbacks, that just doubles the workload for a defense to prepare for, to figure out how they're going to stop different things. And I think you have to call things differently for what quarterback's in the game. So I actually see it as an advantage. Now, I think it's on the young men in our program to not worry about who's at the quarterback position, but to do their job every single play, to focus on what they can control and doing their very best, and not worry about what number is lined up on this side of you or that side of you, but to focus on what they can control. So to me, I think using multiple quarterbacks actually can be a weapon and can make us a little bit more unpredictable.
Using that, you had Alec Beatty come in for quite a number of series last week. How did you assess his performance last week?
I thought Alec did a good job in his first college football game. What I was really impressed with was his poise. He really handled the offense well and put some drives together. He ran the ball effectively. He's a tough kid that has the respect of our team already in a short amount of time, and I thought he did a very good job given his first college football game.
An interesting aspect of last week's game was how hot it was, and I'm just kind of curious from the psychological standpoint of that. Is it hard to kind of get your team focused on when things are not really going your way in that kind of heat?
Potentially. I don't think it should. Again, I think it's, it should be a philosophy. Well, it's outside of our control. I can't control what these outside factors are, so I'm going to focus on what I can control. But I do think, as hot as it was, I think sometimes that it does play a factor. So again, as a head coach, I've been evaluating, okay, maybe I did a poor job during fall camp, and maybe we're not in as good a shape as we need to be. So I always try to look at things that I can do better and how I can adjust things to put the young men in our program in the best situations. And maybe I didn't do a very good job with that, because obviously it was hot, and we had some guys that were cramping up and some guys who had to leave the game and whatnot. But to me, as a player, those are it's certainly not going to help you to focus on those things. So you need to focus on what your assignment is and doing your very best to get the job done. So hopefully we're not too focused on that. Hopefully we're focusing on, again, what we can control.
This week you have Hamline. Last season, this was kind of the point that you've talked about where some things didn't really go your way, but you made a lot of modifications out of that and really got on a roll afterwards. Are you seeing the comparison to the Carleton game as very similar to what happened with Hamline last year?
I hope so. Only time will tell. It's hard to know, It's hard to know how we're going to respond after the Hamline game, win or lose. What we try to focus on is just getting better at every opportunity, regardless of what happened last week or 2 weeks before or whatnot. The focus that we should have is doing our very best to get better at every opportunity, whether it's practice or a weight room session or other things that we do, eating healthy, getting some sleep, doing our best in school, all that stuff. Just try to get better at every opportunity.
Austin Duncan, the big running back for them last season, had a really big run against you, big game in general.
Oh, yeah.
What do you try to do to control him in this year's game?
Get people to him, defeat blocks, and get as many people to him as possible. He's as good a back as we're going to see this year. He's already Hamline's all-time leading rusher, and he's just started his senior year. So he is a dangerous offensive weapon. He is a very talented athlete and a great running back who has great ball security, and people just bounce off of him. You watch all the films, and it's amazing how people just continuously bounce off of him. So he's a very good back, and we're going to do our best to try to stop him. Certainly, if our focus is solely on number 28, Austin Duncan, then obviously we're giving up some other things. So they've got other weapons that'll hurt you as well. They've got all their running backs are back. Like their 5 leading rushers are back. They've got a very good tight end. And I know they've got some receivers that are returning too. So I know their offensive line, they've got some new guys in there. From the sounds of it, I think it's only one starter returning, but they did a very good job creating holes against Minnesota Morris, and they did a good job protecting their quarterbacks. They were very efficient on offense, so they pose a lot of problems. Austin Duncan's one part of it, and we have to make sure that we contain him. Certainly, that's going to be a focus of ours, but they have other ways they can hurt you as well.
One of the most interesting aspects that I've seen to the team so far is the depth that you have here at this point, and I think that's a real tribute to the great job that you and your staff have done of recruiting. The largest roster that you've had is your time here as coach. Tell me a little bit about how you feel about the job you guys have done in filling that roster so far.
It's something that we take pride in, and you see a lot of guys rolling in and out. We like to have people contribute in some capacity. We like to find roles for people when we can, and we're not perfect at it. I had conversations with some of our coaches today about certain guys. How about giving an opportunity to this guy because I think he's earned it and whatnot. So we're always trying to find ways where individuals on our team can contribute in some capacity. So I think we've done a good job about that over the years. Certainly, and we're going to continue to try to do a good job with that. I'm proud of the large roster size, not so much because of our recruiting efforts, but to me, it's more about the retention of the young men in our program. And I'm very proud. With our sophomore class, we had no one that quit after the season last year. I think it's 22 sophomores, and all 22 returned for this year. And to me, that's critical. If we don't retain the young men in our program, we're not going to be a strong program. And I like to think that people are sticking around for a reason. Football is hard. It's not easy. All the running and the lifting and the banging you have to do on the field. It's not easy physically. It's not easy emotionally. And to keep young men around in our program, hopefully it says that they're having a really positive, meaningful, rewarding experience. They're surrounded by great people, and they're able to balance the rigorous academics that you find at a school like Macalester. So we're very proud of the roster numbers, and hopefully that will continue.
So that's 47 in the lower class that you, the freshmen and sophomores that you have so far?
I believe so.
Wow.
I guess I haven't done the math before, but yeah, that would be about right.
Wow, that's a really big number there. Impressive. So questions from fans this week. First of all, Mike from St. Paul would like to know, who were the captains you chose, and what was the process that you made on choosing those captains?
I don't know that I've got a great answer for this one. In terms of how we choose captains, basically the way I feel is if you've put in 4 years here at Macalester, you're a leader on this team, and you should be recognized as a captain in some capacity. So we have game captains, and I just chose the game captains last week for I chose 4 individuals, and I could have chose many more from our senior class who have stood out in terms of their attitude, their effort, their toughness, their ability to, just be great team members. So last week, I believe our captains were Fabian Arizon on defense, Trey Maroka on defense, and then Victor Bordeaux and I'm forgetting one, Joe Walker on offense. So those game captains will rotate amongst the senior class. So it's not necessarily me choosing them other than just picking a couple of game captains. We do have a leadership council on our team that's made up of representatives from each class who I meet with weekly to talk about needs of the team and sometimes what our travel schedule is going to look like, or what we're going to eat, or what color pants we're going to wear, those types of things. And that those are, again, representatives from each class who kind of act as captains in some capacity as well by helping me with big decisions in the program.
Interesting. Tammy from Bloomington would like to know, who were some of the biggest influences on you, not only as a coach, but just as a person in general?
I think growing up, the coaches I had in my life were very special to me because they created my passion for athletics. And I always had a really great experience, whether I was playing football or baseball. And I think I had just positive coaches that made it fun. And to me, that's the key. I've been fortunate to be a part of 2 national championship teams, yet I can't remember the last time I looked at one of those rings or even wore them for that matter. It's to me, it's the journey that's what's important. It's the relationships that you make along the way that are important. The wins and losses, they're going to come and go. Shoot, I talk to alumni now from Macalester who played years ago, and they talk about certain games and they can't even remember who won and lost the certain games. So, to me, the focus is on having a meaningful, rewarding experience surrounding the young men in our program with really great people who want to help them become better people, better students, better athletes. So, I think the coaches were a big part of my life, and certainly my parents were also big influences, and other family members as well. An aunt of mine who is really close to me, they all basically helped me become who I am today, and hopefully I'm influencing others in a positive way as well.
Excellent. Mary from St. Paul would like to know, her husband works a lot of hours during the week, which is something she's sure that you wind up having to do as well. So she'd like to know how it is that you're able to work and spend time with your children and build a relationship with them despite all the time that you have away from them.
First of all, Rob, I got to tell you that I don't believe that these actually come from real fans. I think
They
that
do,
you
though.
made up these questions. But anyhow, Mary from St. Paul. I do tend to work a lot of hours, especially during the season, and it's always something that I feel I can get better at, but I try to be present when I am home. Last night I actually got out of here early. I left early last night after practice. I kind of hustled out because my son was playing a football game. Unfortunately, I showed up and the game had ended, and my wife proceeded to tell me that he scored 2 touchdowns, and one was a long 50-yard run, and I missed it, his first touchdown. But then after that, trying to put my children to bed and to talk to them when I do get home. And I don't have hobbies. I don't golf. I like to golf. I just don't do it. I don't have friends. I tell people that all the time. It's kind of a joke, but at the same time, I just during the football season, I don't do much other than basically work and try to be a good husband and father when that time comes around. So, but I'm not I don't think I'm your typical Division I coach. I go home every night. I'm not going to be the type of guy that sleeps in my office. That's just not who I am. I try to have that balance as well.
Excellent. Gail from Albert Lee would like to know, what are values that you try to instill in your players that aren't necessarily related around football?
I talk to our players consistently, and they'll probably joke about it, how they get tired of me saying it, but I talk to them about being respectful, being responsible, and having great relationships. Those are kind of my expectations for them to be a part of our football program. And to me, the easy part about that is when, there's ever anything that goes wrong, you can always typically point to being a lack of respect or lack of responsibility or having poor relationships. So we talk a lot about those things, but I don't really have certain values that I'm trying to get across. I just try to be myself, and hopefully that's leading by example for one, and I try to surround our players with really good people who care about them more than just as football players, and hopefully through that they're able to see some values of that are positive in terms of hard work and how you treat others and how you have balance in your life. So I hope that answers Gail's question in Albert Lee. Gail, I don't believe you're really out there, but I'll play along here.
Mark from Maple Grove would like to know how you feel about the whole Deflategate situation.
Quite honestly, I haven't paid attention to it because I could care less. As I said, we've got a football program here, 4 children at home, and I really don't pay attention to NFL football these days. Now, when our season ends, I like to throw on a Vikings game here or there, but it's usually after a couple weeks because having a Sunday free is pretty special if the weather is still nice. So I really have not paid attention to it. I'm kind of tired of the whole thing, and when if I see it on TV or if I hear it on sports radio, there's probably a good chance that I'm going to turn the channel. I just don't have any interest in it.
Before we get to our last question, basically what Coach Jennison is saying is that he would like tons more questions than what we even had this week.
Well, that's going to take a lot of work for you, Rob, because it's going to take you a long time to type all these up and create these unique names from St. Paul, Bloomington, Albert Lee, St. Paul, Maple Grove, and Chicago coming up. I don't believe it, but we'll go with it.
Like I said to you, I said over 300 people listen to this week's show, so that's pretty cool. So excellent. So the last question from Ryan is that he heard that each year that there's some kind of player impersonations that are done of you, and he wanted to know what your favorite impersonation of yourself was.
Honestly, I don't know about this. If there are impersonations done of me, then they keep that from me. I'm sure that I am very impersonable, and I'm sure there's quite a few jokes out there. However, maybe it's a lack of, or maybe it's a sign of respect that they don't do it in front of me because they don't want to see me crushed, or maybe it's some other sign. But I really don't know about them, and that's the honest answer. So sorry, I don't have more information on that.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Thank you, Rob.
We want to thank Coach Jennison for joining us on the Scots Scheme this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Macalester coach, please send them to us at TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Tuesday at noon so we can give the Scots Coach